Brandon Gill took Jasmine Crockett to school on illegal immigration.
The purpose of our immigration system is for the benefit of American citizens, not foreigners or anybody else.
And this is a name you better remember because he's becoming a troublemaker for the Democrats inside Congress and perhaps even a leading Republican frontman in the future.
Why are our Democrat colleagues so determined to flood our country with millions of illegal aliens? And I'd like to suggest that perhaps it's because they benefit from it politically.
Now watch Jasmine Crockett build some nonsensical case for illegal immigration before it was knocked like a house of cards by Brandon Gill.
I feel as if my colleagues from across the aisle have decided that they are going to make immigrants the boogeyman. It's insanity to me, but they also are showing compassion for victims, which they should, but they have no compassion for people that are contributing to making us great in this country. So, interestingly enough, I'm curious to know, Mr. Beer, if you know if immigrants contributed to these particular crimes. There was a mass shooting in Buffalo, New York that killed a number of African Americans as they were trying to shop for groceries. Was the defendant an immigrant in that case? Do you know?
No, he was a U.S.-born citizen.
Thank you so much. Charleston, South Carolina, there were black churchgoers trying to praise the Lord. They were killed. Was that an immigrant that perpetrated that or not?
No, that was a U.S.-born citizen.
Thank you so much. Now, coming home to Texas, there was an El Paso shooting. Do you know if that was an immigrant or not?
No, they were targeting immigrants in that case.
In fact, each of these cases, it was white supremacists. And so the last unanimous consent that I'd asked for is this article that states that white supremacists behind over 80% of extremism-related U.S. murders in 2022.
Without objection.
Thank you so much.
Okay, I'm struggling with what her point even was there because guess what? The fact is that there are homegrown criminals, in no way an argument that we need to be importing more crime from illegal crossing over the border. In fact, if anything, that's evidence that we've got enough crime to deal with already. And by the way, notice how Jasmine uses the broad term of immigrants as a cheap, deliberate attempt to put Republicans on the back foot as some sort of xenophobes, when Brandon Gill specifically refers to the over 10 million illegal immigrants that crossed the border under the previous administration and the absolute hub of crime trafficking and drug smuggling that the U.S. southern border has become. You know, if Jasmine wants to bring up an individual case, has she spoken to Tammy Nobles and Patty Morin, the two mothers from Maryland that have been yearning for attention from their Democrat state representatives for any justice for their daughters after losing their lives at the hands of MS-13 gang members? Or are they too busy flying abroad to bring back those illegal immigrants instead? So sometimes it's just worth reiterating a few fundamental facts just so that people don't lose sight of the forest for the trees. American representatives are primarily responsible for the safety and well-being of American citizens above anyone else, and that's precisely the reminder this hearing needed from Brandon Gill.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Nothing excites me more than the thought of President Trump initiating the largest deportation operation in American history. I'd like to remind the committee that the purpose of our immigration system is for the benefit of American citizens, not foreigners or anybody else. For the past 4 years, Democrats have facilitated the invasion of over 10 million illegal aliens into our country. Open borders grow the welfare state, they depress American wages, strain our education and healthcare system, price our working class out of owning a home, and flood our communities with violence and drugs. Mr. Beer, and as well as my colleagues on the other side of the aisle, you're intellectualizing about illegal alien crime notwithstanding. I'd like to remind you that the correct number of American citizens murdered or raped by illegal aliens is 0. Americans have learned firsthand that importing the third world will turn America into the third world. So in light of the chaos of the past 4 years, the question that has come up earlier is, why are our Democrat colleagues so determined to flood our country with millions of illegal aliens? And I'd like to suggest that perhaps it's because they benefit from it politically. Remember that every state is apportioned congressional seats based on population, not based on citizenship. Counting non-citizens in congressional apportionment has resulted in more seats for blue states and fewer congressional seats for red states. For instance, excluding non-citizens, California would have an estimated 3 fewer congressional seats, and Ohio, Pennsylvania, and West Virginia, traditionally red states, would each have an estimated 1 additional seat. Right now, in a political environment where Republicans have a 2-seat majority in the House of Representatives, the presence of millions of illegal aliens in America could quite literally change the balance of power in our country.
And while I know it's been dismissed as some great replacement conspiracy for long, this is not about race. It's about the simple statistical fact that votes decide elections. Remember, with a margin of just 1.5% by popular vote, or about 2 million votes more than the Democrats, America is one step away from becoming a permanent uniparty state along the same lines as California has become today. And that one step is the formal legalization of over 10 million illegal migrants inside the country and allowing them the right to vote. And then you'll look at the 2 most important actions that Joe Biden took literally on the first day of his presidency, and you realize where the priorities lie. First, it was the repeal of the Remain in Mexico program that catalyzed a pouring of millions into the country while they awaited their case. But even more importantly, it was a bill presented in Congress called the U.S. Citizenship Act 2021 that basically cut at the knee of efforts to eventually get those illegals out and instead give them a path to become citizens. Now imagine the massive incentive and pull factor it creates all across South America, just rhetorically, even though that bill was eventually shot down by Congress. By the way, we're not talking about the Dreamers here. That's a whole separate matter on which even Donald Trump said he'd like to work with the Democrats to get them a path to citizenship. It is the mask-off moment for many prominent Democrat leaders that don't hide the intention to eventually absorb millions of illegal migrants into the U.S. electorate, especially establishment politicians like Chuck Schumer.
The only way we're going to have a great future in America is if we welcome and embrace immigrants, the Dreamers, and all of them, because our ultimate goal is to help the Dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million or however many undocumented there are here.
Now, you heard it straight from the horse's mouth and in no uncertain terms. Remember, the 7 swing states that can pull elections one way or another teeter on the edge with just a few tens or hundreds of thousands of votes in either direction. Take, for example, the pivotal state of Pennsylvania with 19 electoral votes. Donald Trump won the state with around a 120,000 vote lead against Kamala Harris. However, it also has over 150,000 illegal immigrants living there, if allowed to vote, could forever alter the voting demographics of the state, and then of course the federal politics. And it's about time someone started pointing this out despite the left's attempt to falsely give it a racial or xenophobic color. This is about the integrity of democracy.
The ultimate goal of mass illegal immigration is mass amnesty and citizenship for illegal aliens, which of course means ultimately allowing them to vote. And that's not a conspiracy theory either. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer himself said it just 2 years ago, and I'm quoting him, "Our ultimate goal is to help the Dreamers, but get a path to citizenship for all 11 million, or however many undocumented there are here." That is their words, not mine. And it appears that for the past 4 years, providing a path to citizenship for illegal aliens is precisely what the Biden administration has been doing.
But that's of course where the real challenge only begins. If the Republican Party's political platform sees the 11 million illegal immigrants as a sword hanging over American democracy, it will have to process and deport them. And as we've seen, it's a Herculean task for which there's no legal framework so far available, especially as millions of cases are getting more complicated by the passing day as they marry and have children. So please let me know in the comments where it should go from here and share this with people that have a voice to add. I don't think the Republicans have a lot of time for concrete steps in that direction, at least with the 2 years of sure majority they've got before the midterms late next year.